The more you chase her, the more you feel like you're losing her. You try harder, you text again, you double text, you buy her time, her attention, her validation. You treat her like a queen, hoping she'll finally see your worth. And still, nothing. She pulls back, grows cold, and you feel sick inside. You replay every word you said. You scroll back through conversations like they hold the secret. You wonder if she ever liked you in the first place. You try harder again. And every move you make, she moves further away. This is how to win any girl without chasing her. Comment, "No more chasing," if you're done begging for love. Number 1. Stop trying too hard. The more effort you put into trying to win someone who hasn't shown real interest, the more invisible you become in their eyes, and deep down you already feel that, don't you? Every time you double text after being ignored, every time you send her a sweet message just to get a cold lol back, every time you overthink your tone, your emojis, your timing, your punctuation, hoping that this text, this effort, this sacrifice will finally break through her emotional wall, make her realize you're the one when all she really sees is someone who doesn't value himself. Because trying too hard is always rooted in fear. Fear of losing her, fear of not being enough, fear of missing your only shot. And that fear makes you dance like a puppet on invisible strings while she just watches, never having to invest, never having to try. Because why would she chase a man who's clearly already convinced she's above him, already treating her like the prize before she's earned anything? And so you turn yourself into her emotional support system, her free entertainment, her ego booster, her backup plan, all while calling it love, calling it being real, when really it's self-abandonment. And every moment you wait on her attention is a moment you rob from your own growth, your own focus, your own power, because the energy you spend proving your worth to someone who isn't even trying to know you could be spent becoming someone no one can ignore, someone who doesn't chase, who doesn't explain, who doesn't break himself to please another. And this isn't about playing games. It's about breaking free from the mindset that tells you love is something you earn through suffering. That if you're just good enough, long enough, she'll finally see you, finally pick you, finally stop choosing the ones who barely try. And the harsh truth you need to hear is this: she already made her decision the moment she saw you trying too hard, and she doesn't respect it, because deep down, even she knows love without boundaries is manipulation disguised as devotion. And while you're sending her good morning texts and waiting for replies that never come, she's laughing at memes with someone who doesn't even ask where he stands. And that's because real attraction isn't earned through desperation or devotion. It's sparked by self-containment, by someone who stands firm in his value and doesn't seek permission to feel worthy. And if that stings, good, let it sting, because pain is what wakes people up, and you need to wake up before you spend another year begging to be chosen by someone who doesn't even value what you bring to the table. So stop proving, stop pleasing, stop hoping she'll finally get it. Instead, go silent, not as a tactic, but as a way to reclaim your dignity, to stop leaking your energy into a void of indifference. And if she reaches out, great, but you're not here waiting. You're out building, growing, sculpting your life into something so rich that her validation feels small next to your vision. And this isn't about making her jealous. It's about making yourself proud. Because once you truly stop trying too hard, and I mean internally stop, not fake it, everything shifts, your presence changes, your energy becomes rare, and people start treating you differently, not because you changed them, but because you finally stopped trying to control how they see you and started owning how you see yourself. And if this spoke to something deep in you, if you're tired of the chasing, the guessing, the emotional exhaustion, then you need the Stoic Relationship Blueprint audiobook. It's not just a book, It's a recalibration of how you show up in every relationship, using timeless Stoic principles that rebuild your self-respect from the ground up. You can now listen to it while walking, running, or just clearing your mind, letting each truth sink into your soul while you move through your day. No more confusion, no more losing yourself. This book will always be yours. Once you have it, that knowledge is in your hands for life. The link is in the comments. If you're ready to stop chasing and start living, this is where your real transformation begins. Number 2. Build a life she wants to join. You spend so much of your time trying to be chosen, trying to be liked, trying to show her that you're different from all the others, but you never stop and ask yourself what she's actually stepping into if she says yes. Because most men want the girl before they've built the life. They crave the attention before they've earned their own self-respect. They want someone to complete a picture they haven't even started painting, and that's why she leaves. Not because you weren't kind enough or consistent enough or romantic enough, but because you don't have a world of your own. You're orbiting around hers, making her the mission while your own purpose sits untouched, and she can feel that emptiness even when you hide it behind ambition, behind fake confidence, behind social media quotes and gym selfies. Because deep down, she knows when a man is pretending to have direction versus when he's walking that direction. And most men don't even realize they're turning their life into an audition, applying to be in someone else's story instead of authoring their own. And that's why everything feels out of your control, why you keep attracting short-term attention but never long-term respect. Because people join lives they admire. They invest in paths that are already moving. They commit to journeys that don't depend on them to feel complete. And when your days revolve around waiting for her text, checking her status, trying to be what you think she wants instead of becoming who you're meant to be, you make yourself forgettable, not because you're not good enough, but because you're not full enough. Your life doesn't pull anyone in because it doesn't pull you in either, and building that life starts with absolute ownership of your habits, your time, your mind, your body, your income, your character. It means choosing structure when others choose ease, choosing focus when others scroll, choosing discipline when your emotions beg for distractions, and when you live like that, consistently, without shortcuts, you start radiating something rare, something people feel but can't explain. And it's not just about money or muscles or lifestyle aesthetics. It's about depth. It's about your relationship with time, how you speak about your future, how you protect your energy, how you use your minutes like they matter, because that's what draws the right people in. Not what you offer them, but what they feel around you. And when a woman sees that you're serious about your goals, that your path has real motion and not just motivation, that your life is too rich to revolve around her validation, that your priorities are bigger than her attention span, she steps in with respect, not just interest, because now it's not about you chasing her or her chasing you. It's about mutual value. It's about joining something greater, and if she doesn't want to join, you keep moving, because you didn't build this for her anyway. You built this because you're done waiting to be picked, done hoping to be seen, done outsourcing your confidence to someone else's approval, and from that place of ownership, everything changes. Your walk, your tone, your standards, your peace. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you finally realize the one thing she's secretly always looking for is a man who doesn't need her but still chooses her from abundance, not absence. From fulfillment, not desperation. From wholeness, not emotional hunger. And when you become that man, not say it, not fake it, but live it, she will feel it without you needing to say a word. And whether she stays or not doesn't even matter anymore. Because now you're the one who decides who gets access to your world. And that's how you build a life she wants to join. Number 3. Master your emotions. You think you're being real when you pour your heart out in long messages, when you vent to her about how you feel unappreciated, when you react every time she pulls back or goes cold. But what you're really doing is handing her all your power on a silver plate, because you still believe that expressing every emotion is strength, when in reality it's exposure, it's surrender, it's giving someone else control over your internal world without making sure they're even worthy of that influence. And this is where most men break, not in the rejection, but in how easily they let it shatter them, how quickly they fall apart because someone didn't reply, someone didn't match their energy, someone pulled away after they opened up. And the reason this keeps happening is because no one taught you how to hold your emotional ground, how to sit with discomfort without turning it into desperation, how to breathe through the urge to react and let the silence teach you what your feelings are really saying, instead of using someone else's attention as your emotional regulator. And the truth is, if you don't learn how to master what you feel, the world will keep punishing you with chaos until you do, because relationships don't break men. Untrained emotions do, and when you rely on another person's attention to feel centered, every small shift becomes a crisis. Every message delay feels like abandonment. Every emotional pullback makes you spiral into overthinking, into chasing, into losing the very essence of what you thought would keep them. And this is exactly why they lose interest. Not because you feel too much, but because you don't own any of it. Because you bleed all over the situation expecting them to clean it up. Because you treat your anxiety like a compass instead of something to master. And mastery doesn't mean pretending you don't care. It means letting the emotion move through you without becoming it. It means not acting on impulse, not reacting to temporary moods, not trying to fix, explain, chase or plead just because you feel unsettled. And when you begin to hold yourself in the middle of that discomfort without letting it leak out through actions that sabotage your dignity, you become rare, because most people have never felt what it's like to sit inside their own fire without screaming for rescue. And now you're showing that you're not just another person looking for emotional comfort. You're a grounded force who doesn't flinch just because someone else becomes inconsistent. And from that steadiness comes attraction, not because you're manipulating anyone, but because your presence becomes unfamiliar in a world addicted to emotional chaos. And yes, she will test it. She will delay her response. She will pull back. She will get cold. And it's not always out of malice. Sometimes it's unconscious, but your job isn't to chase answers. It's to remain undisturbed until the answer reveals itself, and that kind of discipline doesn't make you hard. It makes you unshakable, and that's the kind of person people remember, respect, and desire. Not the one who keeps explaining how they feel, hoping it'll win sympathy, but the one who chooses not to let emotions run the show. And if you want to start right now, the first step is to notice what triggers you, and then decide that reaction is not the same as response, that not every feeling deserves expression, that your emotional world is sacred and not everyone gets access. And the more you live by that, the more peace you gain, the more dignity you protect, the more power you reclaim. Because emotional mastery isn't a performance. It's a way of being that says, I don't need you to understand me in order for me to stay grounded. I don't need your validation to stay steady. I don't need this conversation to end perfectly for me to hold my integrity. And once that becomes your reality, no one can break you, not because you don't feel, but because you finally lead your feelings instead of letting them lead you. Number 4. Prioritize self-respect. Most don't even realize how low they've set the price for access to their time, attention, and energy until they're lying awake wondering why someone who barely puts in effort holds so much space in their mind. And it's not because that person is so special, it's because they've spent so long betraying themselves that now even the bare minimum feels like a reward. And this is the sickness that infects your confidence, the belief that just because you feel deeply, you must tolerate deeply, that your role is to absorb disrespect in the name of patience, that love means never walking away, no matter how many times you're ignored, sidelined, or taken for granted. And you start to confuse suffering with loyalty, thinking if you hold on longer, explain better, show more care, they'll see your value and start treating you right. But they won't. Not because they're incapable, but because you've already taught them you'll stay no matter how they treat you. And once that standard is set, everything you accept reinforces it. Every time you reply after being ignored for hours, every time you cancel your plans just to be available, every time you make excuses for someone else's laziness or coldness, you're lowering your own value in their eyes, because you're showing them that your boundaries are flexible, that your self-respect has a price. And even if you tell yourself you're just being patient or understanding, what you're really doing is hoping they'll finally choose you out of guilt or sudden clarity. But no one respects what they don't have to earn, and if all it takes to keep your loyalty is occasional attention, they'll give you exactly that and nothing more, because they know you'll stay hungry for crumbs and call it a connection. And this is the point where you either wake up or stay stuck. You either decide that your time is too valuable to be spent chasing someone who doesn't prioritize you, or you keep playing the background character in someone else's life story while your own remains unwritten. And the harsh reality is that many people will gladly take advantage of your emotional generosity, not because they're evil, but because they're selfish. And if you keep giving without requiring effort, consistency, or respect in return, you are the one training them to treat you that way, which means the power to change everything is not in convincing them, it's in choosing you, in deciding that your peace matters more than their presence, that your dignity matters more than their attention, that your standards are not up for debate. And the way you do this isn't by waiting for a perfect moment to speak up. It's by enforcing consequences without drama, without noise, by walking away from anything that feels like settling, by holding your ground when they test your limits, by letting people feel your absence when they stop valuing your presence. And it's not easy because you'll miss them. Your ego will scream for validation. Your mind will play memories like a movie hoping it'll change the ending, but none of that changes the fact that if they wanted to keep you, they would have matched your effort. And once you finally stop justifying their behavior and start owning your value, you'll realize you were never asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong person. And from that point forward, everything shifts, because now you're not waiting to be chosen. You're choosing, you're filtering, you're protecting your energy, and you'll notice how quickly the wrong ones fall away when they realize you're no longer willing to sell your soul for their presence, and how the right ones lean in, not because you're chasing them, but because you've become someone worth chasing, not through words, but through the discipline of self-respect. Number 5. Detach from outcomes. Every moment you spend obsessing over how someone feels about you is a moment you rob yourself of power, because when your emotional state depends on whether or not they reply, whether they look at your story, whether they show interest or validation today, you're not in a relationship, you're in captivity, held hostage by the outcome you desperately want to control. And most don't even realize how deep this need runs until it consumes their day, their thoughts, their self-worth, and they begin twisting their identity around someone else's approval, believing if they act right, wait patiently, say the perfect thing, or time their responses just right, they can win what was never earned in the first place. But that's not connection, that's performance. And people feel when you're performing, when you're holding back your truth in the hopes of being liked, when you're sacrificing your voice, your standards, your needs, all because you're afraid that speaking honestly might cost you the connection, and that fear is what keeps you small, anxious, forgettable, because nobody is drawn to someone whose sense of value rises and falls based on external approval. And if you truly want to be respected, remembered, and wanted, you must let go of needing anything from anyone, not in a cold or bitter way, but in a grounded way that says, I am already full, already worthy, already peaceful, with or without your presence. And detaching from outcomes doesn't mean you don't care. It means you no longer depend. It means you're rooted in your own truth, regardless of what someone else gives or withholds. Because the reality is this: the person who needs nothing owns everything. The person who can walk away owns the dynamic. The person who doesn't flinch when the attention stops is the person everyone comes back to, not because they begged, but because they refused to break themselves to hold someone who didn't appreciate their presence. And you get to that place by facing the truth. The truth that chasing outcomes has only drained you, that every time you tried to manipulate perception, you lost your authenticity, that every time you tried to make someone choose you, you lowered your standard just to feel chosen. And the truth is, if they truly wanted to be with you, nothing would stop them. And if they don't, nothing you say or do will change that. So you stop forcing it. You stop hoping. You stop overanalyzing and start observing. And from that detachment comes clarity, because now you can finally see who shows up when you stop reaching, who tries when you stop overextending, who values you when you stop proving. And yes, it hurts at first, because your ego is addicted to certainty, addicted to control. But your soul is craving freedom. And that freedom begins the moment you release the need for closure, the moment you stop trying to fix every disconnect, the moment you stop demanding understanding and start choosing peace over explanations. And it's not about winning or losing. It's about finally respecting yourself enough to not let anyone else's inconsistency disrupt your emotional state, to not let their silence become your narrative, to not let their indecision create your suffering. And once you live from that space, where you show up fully, honestly, and let the chips fall where they may, you become powerful beyond words, because now you are not afraid of loss, not afraid of walking away, not afraid of being alone. And in that state you stop chasing relationships and start attracting alignment, stop needing validation and start radiating value, stop depending on attention and start commanding respect, not through force, but through presence, not through tactics, but through inner stillness. And the best part is, once you detach from needing anyone, you no longer fear losing anyone. And from that day forward, you become the chooser, not the one hoping to be chosen. If you're tired of chasing, begging, waiting to be chosen, this is your line in the sand. Society doesn't want you to have this knowledge. It wants you weak, confused, bending over backwards for people who never valued you. That ends today. If you felt every word in this video, it's because you're waking up. The Stoic Relationship Blueprint is not just a book. It's a weapon. A quiet weapon built with timeless Stoic principles to help you take your power back. And now it's available in audiobook format, so you can plug it in while walking, running, building the life they'll regret losing. No more emotional games, no more silent suffering. The link is in the comments. Comment, "I reclaim my power," if you're ready to own your worth, like the video, and subscribe to help another man escape years of regret.